Hey, all you Splinterheads, welcome back. Bronze Dragon here, bringing you a little update answer, I guess. The topic is land surfing. I don't know if you heard about it, but the other day on the People's Guild podcast, Hardpoint was on as their guest, and he brought it up. And I hadn't heard about it, but in my live stream on Saturday, a few of my listeners brought it up and asked me what I thought about it. And I had to say, I don't know. This is the first I'm hearing about it. So I went, I tracked down the webcast, and I listened to it. Here are the details. If you, first of all, if you're interested in this after I talk about it a little bit, I would say go listen to it. It was like, at this point, 3 days ago, it was the most previous People's Guild webcast or podcast rather. It is on YouTube, however, as well. And it featured Hardpoint as the guest speaker. So with that said, one of these big overarching kind of, I don't want to call it an issue, but possible issues in the future is land usage and how much of the total land in Pretoria is going to actually be put to use. Okay. And a lot of people have been guessing and throwing out random numbers, and even the team, from the team's aspect or from the team's side, they have kind of thoughts on how much of the land is going to be put to good use, because we've talked about this time and time again, how much it's going to cost to stake, everything involved with not just buying land, but buying totems and Rooney and all the cards you're going to stake on the land, and buying food, and, all these kind of peripheral issues in staking land. The whole overarching idea was, well, there might be a lot of land that's just not used. What are we going to do about that? And to kind of some of my thought process that I've talked about a number of times is that if you are a landholder and you're in the middle of a bunch of land that's not being used, how is that going to impact you? And they have kind of talked about this in the past, whereas they've said that you want to be in an area where people are putting their land to good use, staking on it, that the people who have your keeps and castles in your region are staking and doing good work, so that it's basically like living in a good neighborhood, bringing the whole value up. So we've talked about that before. And that's been my whole aspect, because I've been looking for plots of land, and obviously I'm trying to find it in an area where I think that the people there are going to stake, and they're larger members in the community, and they're not there just to flip the land. So that's all just a personal strategy of mine. Well, this whole thought process and idea from Hardpoint called land surfing is a way to go ahead and combat that. In other words, put a lot of the land that may be fallow or unused to good use. Okay, so you can go listen to that, but I'll sum it up. Okay, it basically takes and allows that that there are not cards staked on. The idea allows for other people to come in and stake cards on that land. You don't own the land or anything, but the whole idea starting out, and obviously a lot of this, all this is just in the idea stage. So everything can change. But the whole idea is that if I come in and I see your land sitting next to mine, and you're doing nothing with it, it's just sitting there, nothing staked on it, then I could say, hey, I'm going to stake some land on I'm going to stake some cards on your land. And then the whole idea is that I would make 50% off of that, and you would make the other 50%. It doesn't infringe upon your owning rights of the actual NFT of the land or anything. And obviously there's a lot of things that need to be ironed out in this idea. But it would theoretically allow up to 100% usage of the continent, right? So there's that. He also stated that it wouldn't infringe upon you really owning the land as well, because if you wanted to kick somebody off, you could kick them off. All you'd have to do is kick take a 1 BCX cheap card and stake it on the land, and it would kick that person off. Okay, so I like that. I don't want anything to go through that would infringe upon landowners' rights. But I do like the idea of being able to take fallow land and put it to good use. Because there are some people that maybe they don't own much land, but they own a ton of cards. Put those cards to good use, right? So there's also the thought process of, it's kind of like in the U.S. Mid 30s, 40s, we had what were called sharecroppers. These were poor farmers in the U.S., and I'm pretty sure that they had them worldwide as well. They just called them something else, where the poor farmer would live on the landowner's land, and they would be able to have a house there, a small house and everything there. But it was just their job to farm that land. And then the owner of the land would get his percentage, and then they lived, and they weren't like destitute. So that immediately came to mind when I started hearing about this idea. And there's a lot of peripheral ideas around this, such as they were talking about, Hardpoint was talking about the whole idea of it opening up a whole new portion to the game, or a whole new part of the game. In other words, there would be almost a war type atmosphere in the fact that if somebody was staked on a land that you wanted to be staked on, you could come in, and as long as you had more production points to stake on that land, you could kick them off the land and go into that land. So as you can see, this would it could manifest in larger things, whereas guilds taking a lot of cards and starting kicking other guilds off of land and things of this nature. But it's just a whole new way to play the game, right? And all those are variables going forward. And he noted that. He said the team is aware of that, and they're still thinking this through. And obviously nothing has been put in yet, but it's definitely something that he's thinking about, and definitely something they're thinking towards putting code in, because the whole idea, once again, is making as much of the land useful and producing something as possible. And it makes it so that a person that maybe just got into the game and didn't necessarily have enough money to stake on land, they were busy trying to fill out their deck to play the game, they could buy a few cards and stake them on land and make a little bit, and slowly gain their way up, and then eventually, buy a plot of land or something or other. A lot of variables here, but I would say go ahead and go over and check out that full webcast. It's a long webcast, but the discussion kind of starts within the first 25-30 minutes, and then it kind of trails out because they keep having ideas through the whole podcast, right? Very good listen. And I would say that for those that were on my live cast on Saturday who asked me what my opinion is, I love it. I love the idea. I've always said I've been waiting for land to happen for the last two plus years I've been playing the game. I would think that this would only be a plus to the game. Obviously, as Hardpoint had stated a few times, they want to look at it from every different angle to make sure that what they put into the game is not going to be abused, because we all know that if you put in something to the game to make money, and if there's any possibility of it being abused, it's going to be abused, right? So he was very adamant that he didn't want any changes to be to the detriment of landowners. And I think as long as they look at it from those aspects, every different angle, try to make it so that, the landowner, the NFT owner is not going to be infringed upon, this could only be a win-win for the land game. Because in the end, we want to make, I don't know if it's completely possible, but 100% of that land productive in Pretoria. So it gets 2 thumbs up for me. This has been Bronze Dragon. I hope everyone on your side is happy and healthy. And I will see you on the flip side.